Hello and welcome to Special Report. I'm Olumide Macaulay. Nigeria, a tropical nation having its semi-arid season in the far north and progressively getting more rainy as you move southwards, the rainy season lasts only 4 months. From June to September, across the north-central states, it goes from April to October, while in the southern part, it goes from March to October. And finally, in the southeast, which is the wettest area, it goes from March to November traditionally. Annual precipitation is below 500 meters, that is 500 millimeters, in the extreme northeast. On the shores of Lake Chad, it ranges from 1,000 to 1,500 millimeters in the central region. It exceeds 2,000 millimeters in the south, and it even exceeds 3,000 millimeters in the far southeast. The peak of the rainy season no doubt gladdens the earth of most traditional farmers, who are always in high hopes that the rains will yield good harvests. The stories are usually to the contrary, especially for those living at the bank of the river, mainly as a result of rising sea levels, constant rainfall, lack of proper drainage systems. Flooding has become an annual tragedy the rainy season brings. Now, this is the peak of the rainy season, and this week we're looking at how the flood has ravaged communities across Nigeria. You're welcome to Special Report. I'm Olumide Macaulay.
Flooding has become a major hazard in Nigeria in recent years, owing to a growing population, rapid urbanization, and extreme weather events. Adamawa State has vaccinated over 5,000 people since it commenced administering the second roll of the Moderna COVID-19 vaccinations across the state. This exercise is, however, being threatened by flash floods in rural and vulnerable communities, making it difficult to access. The chairman of the Adamawa State Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Dr. Bashir Suleiman, explains that flood has been setting the exercise back across communities ravaged by floods.
We did very remarkably well, and we look at what were our critical success factors, and it informed our preparation for this. Well, we began community social mobilization in earnest to prepare the people in Adamawa State for these vaccines, and we are beginning to see a reasonable result. It has been a very significant challenge. During the first round, it was experienced, but with the mobilization, with the adequate intervention strategies that we adopted, we engaged the community leadership, we engaged religious health workers. His Excellency has also urged the people of Adamawa State to accept this vaccine because it has been proven to be safe and effective. So in that regard, we have not rested on our oars, so we have sustained that advocacy and community and social mobilization, and it's yielding us the desired result. Notwithstanding, we are getting some pockets, but with the mechanism in place, we are beginning to address the one or few cases that come up. But we will continue to do more because we are going to other places that we have not reached, and we want to also do the needful even before we get there.
6 local government councils in Yobe State have been cut off from Damaturu, the state capital, after heavy flood destroyed about a half-kilometer Potiskum Garden Alkali Road, hampering economic activities, which includes farming. Motorists who ply the road have to find another route through Bolkachua in Jigawa State, alternatively by Amari Dapchi Road, which is associated with security threats of Boko Haram kidnappings.
Cholera can say I've never witnessed such before. As you can see, even when they told me that, a friend of mine told me that they ran here, the water was much. From the other side, they crosses to the other side, and about 2 vehicles, they were down. I think one is still at the gutter, and the first one has been taken away already. I think we have never experienced this before. It has been happening other places like Big Shedder, and I think this is the first time. And we just hope that government should do something quickly about it before it will take the life of human being.
As it didn't fall this morning, this other way now, That is water covered the expressway. So that's what I see. And some motor block and stop on the way after the rain pass before the motor start moving.
The recent daily rainfall has resulted in overflow of the Hadejia Jamari rivers in Bauchi and Jigawa states, causing havoc on the road. Passengers plying the road had to stop and pay additional 200 naira fare in a canoe to the other side of the collapsed road. Succor, however, seems to be on the way for residents and other road users, as government approved 169 million naira for the rehabilitation of the road. As heavy downpour continues to wreak havoc in some parts of Nigeria, residents of 7 communities in Yobe State recently affected by flooding are asking the government to provide a lasting solution to their problems.
There was a heavy downpour in Damaturu and environs, and in general the whole of Yobe State. As a result, there were heavy flooding in some few communities in Damaturu and environs. And this affected about 7 communities. Hereby direct the State Emergency Management Agency to respond immediately, especially to the community that are seriously affected. Already he has reported to me that he has identified some locations in which resettlement will take place.
The Northeast Development Commission also responded to the victims with distribution of food and non-food items.
Well, today we are in Damaturu, Yobe State capital, to commiserate with the people that affected with the floods. It has been reported to us from the State Emergency Management Agency, that's the SEMA, that almost 9 local government areas are affected with the floods. So we write a report to the Commission, and of which the Commission approved the large number of food and non-food items to distribute to those people that are affected.
Distress call from our community development partners and local government emergency respondents. There's a flood in those areas, areas in the Damaturu local government. We mobilize our team for a rapid assessment and on-spot assessment, in which, to avoid duplication and kind of inclusion criteria, we identify our partners, the community leaders, the youth leaders, and women group. We follow house to house. We're using what is called house-to-house assessment to pitch out these people. And as matter of a validation, each and every house that we went, we make sure we capture the geo-coordinates in that particular house to avoid duplication and to make it more valid for our assessment and subsequent intervention.
In Bauchi State, flood which has ravaged communities, sacking residents from homes, has also taken over farmland. Investors in fish farming complain of how their fishes have been washed away, with scavengers feeding on their means of livelihood.
We feel so sad. Most of the farmers, if government didn't assist them, they are already out of the business, because there are farmers, retirees who lost almost 6 pumps of fish already grown out. There are people who lost 2. There are people who lost 5. So if assistance doesn't come to anywhere, they have already invested their retirement gratuity into that farming. So there is going to be a harbor. They are going to dismiss their worker, and a lot of things will come on board.
In Abia State, the government is finding all means to control the present erosion and flood which has ravaged communities in the state.
In order to arrest the continuous erosion, flooding and other ecological devastations within and around the impacted communities. Let me use this opportunity to commend the project contractor and the consultant who had worked tirelessly to ensure timely completion of the project in line with the project implementation schedule. It is our conviction that this intervention will provide the enabling environment for enhanced socioeconomic activities amongst and between the benefiting communities.
I have no doubt that the successful completion of this project will not only better assure the safety and well-being of citizens of surrounding communities, but will also improve their standard of living. It will mitigate the dangers losses and damages associated with soil erosion and seasonal flooding of unpredictable intensity, which have plagued Oyiye Uruari, Ohukabia, Alibara Ohukabia, Ndiji in Ogudasa communities for several years. Further, this project should provide ample interesting opportunities for socio-economic growth to members of the communities. I wish to use this occasion to appreciate the deep commitment of His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, to the welfare of the people of Nigeria.
In Taraba State, unspecified number of houses, business premises and farmland have been submerged by flood in Jalingo, the state capital.
At exactly 6 a.m., there was a rainfall, a serious rainfall. So all of a sudden we were here, the place was just flooded. So in between there was a car here that the water moved. Before you know, fences started falling. Even the whole fence of my house was down. Then all of a sudden, some of the things that we were not able to get because of the flood, we just saw guys from nowhere entering the water to pick them up. And when you want to claim your property, they tell you that it's their own. They came, they followed it from elsewhere to pick them. Some of us, even when we were outside, away from the water, some of them came from behind, entering some houses to pick some valuables. There is nothing we can do actually. As you can see, the destruction is enormous and it's something we never planned for. So we're even trying to see how to feed, not even how to fence the house. But we thank God the houses are standing, we still have shelter in our heads. So for now, nothing for now, sir, nothing.
So I just woke up this morning. My sister called me and said that flood is coming. The water is entering the house. So I started packing some little things like that. Before I know, my fence fall down last event. So the other one is about to fall down. As I see it falling down now, I say, okay, let me just carry my children out. So we take them out. They are there in the neighboring house.
Heavy downpour, which lasted for several hours and blocked drainages, contributed to the flooding. This is coming barely 1 month after the previous flood, which took place on the 10th of July this year.
We'll send them food and some blankets, net and so forth to be able to cushion the suffering of the families. And that is why I decided to come to see for myself. But the major problem is drainage. Reduced drainage, because the volume of water that is coming is far more than the drainage provided, which is worsened by the dirt that they put in the culvert. This is a major problem. We are going to ask the urban development to provide more buckets, dumping waste buckets to all over across this place that you see, so that children can dump their waste there and not inside the drainage, which is the major problem. Who will solve it?
Following the devastating flood incident that swept property and displaced several families and homes in Egbu Autonomous Community in Owerri North Local Government Area of Imo State, a state government delegation led by the Deputy Governor of Imo State, Placid Njoku, and the Chief of Staff visited the area to commiserate with the affected families and get first-hand information on how to best tackle the menace. The traditional ruler of the Egbu Autonomous Community insists proper drainage system must be done to mitigate the flooding issue.
The whole issue has been the diversion of water, and there was we need a thorough drainage that will take it off back to this junction, that it can flow. It's a old waterway that have been in existence, and that's part of what we say Odamiri River that started here. Odamiri River, where it started, is collection of this whole water that hits down to Odamiri for it to flow. Whatever people can do to save the general masses, even if it means relocating a few to get things going on for us, we will appreciate.
while the Deputy Governor of the state, Placid Njoku, gave his word that all professional measures will be put in place to check the flooding in the area.
For us as a government, we have a responsibility which we accept. We are here to be part of the solution to that problem. If we need to form a committee, a technical committee to come here, maybe under the Commissioner for Works, they come here, they review everything, and they give us a technical report on which we shall work. The unfortunate thing which we must accept, all of us, is that this is rainy season. And so any place you put an equipment today, what you are creating there is mud. Mud. Nobody will be able to pass through that road. But it's important for us, even if it is just to go and see, prepare for what can be done later. This is the time to do it. We will work with you, and by the grace of God, we shall solve this problem.
In Lagos, torrential rainfall leads to flooding of many areas. This is what a portion of the Ago Palace Way in the Okota area of the state looks like. Ijora Badia, another suburb in the state, it's also affected. While the marina is dry, the situation is different for some residents in the Lekki area. Spring Bay Estate has fallen victim. The road is completely overtaken by flood. The Lagos State Commissioner for Environment and Water Resources, Mr. Tunji Bello, was warned of resumed heavy rainfall in September and release of water from the Oyan Dam by the Ogun-Osun River Basin Authority.
The same level of preparedness is what we have in store for the advisory by the management of Ogun-Osun River Basin Authority on release of water from the Oyan Dam in September. We are stepping up the dredging and cleaning of all our channels, and we also use the opportunity to once again put the residents of low-lying areas, especially those in the river banks like Agility, Ajegunle, Isheri North, Owode, Iwaya, Makoko, Badia, Ijora, Ishalu, Porta and Shibiri, etc. on notice to be at a loss that they may have to relocate to higher grounds to save their lives and properties when the water is released by Oyan Dam authorities. For such people, they can always return to their abode when the water subsides. To effectively contain flooding in our state, we have maintained the long-established synergy and partnership with the Ogun-Osun River Basin Authority, which has ensured control and monitoring of the steady and systematic release of water from Oyan Dam to prevent flooding of the downstream communities. This is a mutual relationship which we cherished and will continue to sustain. Lagos State will also be collaborating with our sister state of Ogun in order to optimally respond to whatever challenges that the release of water can bring to the two states and the areas that are contiguous to the Oyan Dam. The same goes for the warning alert from the Nigeria Hydrological Services that Lagos will experience its peak rain in September. September is just a few days away. Let me give an assurance to all residents that the proactive stance of the ministry has always been be ready always. And we have since 2013 always treated 9 months of every year from March to November as peak months of rainfall in our preparations. That is why we can never be caught napping.
Speaking in Lagos, Mr. Bello explains that the peculiarity of our state as a coastal one and its strategic position as the economic hub of the nation makes it expedient for the dissemination of crucial information on the 2021 rainfall prediction earlier in the year to allay the fears of residents and prepare them ahead of the likely consequence of rain.
We also put all emergency agencies, traffic management agencies and other emergency-related outfits on the alert to assist in reducing the negative impact of thunder storm associated with rainfall of the state. We appeal to residents to report cases of drainage blockages, dumping of waste into canals by anybody, and other unauthorized places to our resident engineers in local governments. We have our resident engineers, they are in every local government. The state resident engineers in charge of drainage maintenance and so on, they are posted into every local government. So the ministry has already posted resident engineers in every local government. So what we just need to is just to relate with them and so on, so that there is that collaboration and there is that synergy, so that everything can work together. I wish to appeal once again to our people to continue to support our efforts by complementing the state government through regular clearing of drains in their frontages to ensure free flow of storm water, as well as to desist from dumping of refuse into drainage channels and roads, so that we can consolidate on the gains already made in 2021 rainy season. So that is the essence of what we need to just let you know. We are collaborating very well with all those managing our dams, or your dam, or those managing on your dam. For us, we're already in touch with them, and as well as hydrological services. We are regularly in touch with them, so as to monitor the weather and to monitor the rain patterns as well, for the benefit of Lagosians, in order to ensure that there is minimum inconvenience anytime it rains. So once again, I want to thank you for listening.
Ravaging flood water travels across communities in Ogun State, in Abeokuta, submerging cars and overrunning bridges. With the flood, it's a huge pile of waste washed aside, and without any guesswork, the root cause of the flood is identified. At this briefing, officials in Ogun State are asking residents who live along waterways and canals to relocate upland to reduce the effect of the perennial flash flood that ravaged parts of Abeokuta, the state capital.
This year has been predicted to have very heavy rainfall, and that we advise people who are on these low-lying areas to find some other safer, higher grounds to go at least during this season, so that no lives and the properties will be lost. But it will appear as people will just want to do what they need to do. So we just want to appeal to our people to take government's advice, warnings whenever they are given, because it is in our people's interest. Because the government has a responsibility to protect life and property, and that is why those information, those warnings, those advice were given much earlier this year, and even during this pandemic. Now, going forward, we just want to tell people to desist from building along river courses, river valleys, because these are dangerous areas. You recall that last year there was a lot of hue and cry, when something like this occurred, and the government marked a number of structures, many of them shanties, erecting, and there was a lot of noise that government was going to, take people away. But that's not the case. We need to ensure that our people's lives are safe. And that is why we are asking people not to build along river channels, and those who are building should move away for now, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. 3 heavy periods have been predicted, and we have not even experienced the discharge of water from Oyon Dam, yes, which may still come. So people should please leave these areas for now, while government begins to look at ways to provide lasting solution.
Absence of integrated systems, lack of interagency coordination, substandard and weak infrastructure, inadequate drainage network, high urban poverty, low-level literacy, cultural barriers and weak institutions characterize current lackadaisical practices. Thus, millions of Nigerian citizens have been affected by flooding, causing financial losses worth billions of naira. The major detrimental effects of flooding in Nigeria encompass deaths, physical damages, prevalent infections and diseases, social unrest, deprivation, food shortages, and financial losses, which are primarily caused by farmland destruction, social urban infrastructural disruption, as well as economic interference in the distribution of power and telecommunications.
While agencies of government take it upon themselves to clean up the drainage regularly and all safety measures are adhered to by residents, it behoves the agencies to make sure that the suffering on the part of those that experience flooding is minimized. And that's it on Special Report program today. I'm Olumide Macaulay. Thank you for watching.